Hey there, and welcome back to Sleeve M. If this is your first time here, my name is Emily and I had the gastric sleeve procedure on January 9th. I am officially just shy of 6 weeks out, which 6 weeks is a very exciting point in the procedure or the recovery of the procedure, but we'll get to that a little bit later. In today's video, I really just kind of wanted to talk about some of the mental issues that I've been having. With having the gastric sleeve procedure, it is a huge advantage in weight loss. I feel that it has been working very well on me, but the only thing that didn't have surgery is my mind. What I consider probably a huge part of my weight gain is mental. I know that I'd eat when I was bored, I'd eat when I was stressed, and now with having this stomach, I just physically can't eat like I used to, and I can't use food to cope with my emotional changes. And so that has really kind of been a struggle for me in trying to figure out different ways that I can deal with it. I know that when for instance, probably the number one thing, and you hear this from all over the place, they get stressed, they go to food. For some reason, it's that high carbohydrate food. With my diet nowadays, it is very high protein base. I really don't have a lot of carbohydrates, so that stress eating of going to the carbs is really not an option. Any carbs, I haven't really had any breads or pastas. I haven't had any rice yet. I haven't had any corn. I really haven't had any sweets or anything like that since having the procedure. So when dealing with stress, since that was what I used to go to, what I've been kind of doing is something called 4-7-8 breathing. So basically what you do is you want to put your tongue on the roof of your mouth. You inhale for 4 seconds with your tongue on the roof of your mouth, hold for 7 seconds, and then exhale for 8 seconds. And this was taught to me by a physician that was going through an integrative fellowship. And she had learned multiple different ways of alternative medicine issues. And this is the one that she came to me and said that she really thinks I would benefit from. And so what I've been doing is on my way to work every morning, which work is usually my stressful time, on my way to work, doing 3 of those on the way there, and then 3 of them on my drive home. And then if I feel like I'm in a stressful situation, just stepping aside, doing that breathing, instead of, grabbing like, some chips or something at my desk has been really helpful. And also I went to a passage meditation class back in the day, and there was multiple different points, but they talked about a mantra or mantram that you can say. So before I go in to see a patient, or before I do something that I know I'm going to be putting myself into a stressful situation, saying a word that brings just complete calmness to me has also been really helpful. It's amazing how stepping aside, just taking that 4-7-8 breathing breath can just make it feel like everything is okay. We got this, and I can get right back on work. Instead, when I used to go to food, it would just sometimes spiral a little bit, because food doesn't make you happy forever, but figuring out a way to truly calm yourself inside lasts forever. Another thing was eating when I'm bored. So I've really been working on, instead of when I'm bored, making, like, when I'm sitting here on the weekends, I make like a list of things that I want to get done, such as cleaning off, going through a cupboard, or going through a drawer that's been driving me nuts, or putting stuff away that's been driving me nuts. Things like that, making a list. And so when I get bored, instead of being like, oh, I think I'm hungry, I'll be like, oh, I have this list in front of me. And it says that I really need to go through the fridge and throw away anything that's expired. And then I do that, and it kind of takes up my time. And then by the time I'm done, I'm kind of tired from doing it. So I can come back, sit down and watch TV. I know that in week 6, I can start exercising again. So I really feel that if I am truly bored, going on a walk or things like that. I live just literally a few blocks away from a park that I typically take my dog on a walk to every morning. You know, I could just go for a small walk around the block, something like that. Start small. And I think as things build up, boredom, I think, I will just find different ways to kind of cope with that. On the weekends, when we get bored, for instance, yesterday we've been going to movie, really using that movie pass I talked about. So little things like that really help with the boredom. The next big mental issue that I have to overcome, and this is definitely going to be a work in progress, I think all these issues, you have to remember that I am literally I am 1.5 months out. So I'm still really working on all those mental issues, working them through, figuring out this is what I used to do and this is what I'm going to become. This is how I'm going to figure this out. So the next one is the finishing the plate. I don't want to blame, you know, my parents, or I don't think my parents were big finish your plate, but I want to say my grandparents, they didn't like any food left over on your plate. They were very much, you know, grab what you're going to eat. And then I also had a daycare person that was very much finish your plate, otherwise you can't get up to go to nap time, which I hated nap time, but I never had an issue finishing my plate. So like those, you know, those type of things. And so what I used to do is I used to say, Daniel, will you just make my plate? Because whatever you put on it, I'm going to finish. And I've learned from eating the beans that that is impossible. Really having the smaller plates here at the house, eating with the espresso spoons. Somebody commented in the last video about eating with chopsticks, which certain food I think will be really great because as I'm tasting out new foods, you want to take it a little bit slower. But in the house and at work, I seem to have this down really packed. I have small containers, I have small bowls, I have everything you need to make sure that you do not overeat. But when you go out to a dinner, and this is kind of inevitable because with your family, where does my family usually celebrate? At a restaurant. When I meet a friend on my day off, they typically want to go out to eat. And I can't just stop those things, but I can control them a little bit better. And so what I've really been focusing on is when I go out to eat, looking at the menus ahead of time, figuring out what I can eat. A lot of times it'll have side dishes that you can order, so you don't have to order a whole big plate. Don't be afraid to say, can we kind of modify this so that I can eat it? And then also realizing that from what I've noticed when I go out to eat, their plates equal at least 4 meals. Really looking, I think at least you can divide almost every place you go to into 4 meals. I like leftovers. I'm not against it. And so I've just been, when I get home, I divide them into little containers. That way, when I'm grabbing my lunch for the next day, they're just easy to grab, throw it in there, get going, and things like that. That has been really helpful, is just to think, divide it in 4, and just know from the beginning, take a few bites, stop. Take a few bites, stop. Listen to your body. Another big stressor that I have, or a mental issue that I have, is I keep forgetting, for some reason, when I'm going to be gone for a majority of the day, I forget to pack, you know, string cheese or something in my purse to make sure I'm eating at those intervals. Right now they have me on every 2 hours, but next week they start at every 3 hours, which will be, I think, a lot more manageable, because at 3 hours, you know, it gives you a little bit more time in between. But every 2 hours, I mean, that is intense. But I can still drink as much, you know, water with meals, where next week I won't be able to have that. And so, for instance, this week I was out, so I knew a gas station that sold string cheese, so I went there. But really trying to plan ahead and know that if you're going to be gone for a majority of the day, packing the lunch bag, putting in some things that you can just easily grab. One thing that I really like is just taking the piece of deli meat, wrapping it up with the cheese inside. If you want to go a little extra, you could throw in some guacamole. And I really like that. That has been something super easy that I can just put in the bag, grab, eat it when I need to. Because you don't really want to go and get fast food in those situations. So just really being prepared and just staying on top of it. Another issue that I find, and one that kind of just like annoys me just a touch, is people think that it's weird because people know that I have the gastric sleeve and they'll be walking down the hallway with like their food, whatever it may be. I mean, it could even be something healthy. And they'll be like, don't look, you know, like, don't let me eat this peanut butter cup in front of you. And as compared to some of the previous diets I've been on, with the gastric sleeve, a lot of times when I see people eat, it does not appetize me anymore. I don't feel hungry like I used to. I know how I talked about how they cut out the portion that makes a hormone that makes you hungry. I legitimately don't feel hungry. In fact, this has been one of my big issues, and going along with the last thing is that if I forget to pack food and I run out, a lot of times I don't realize it until I start feeling lightheaded that I'm depleted on a meal. So I don't like when people try to like hide things. It seems like when people try to do that in secret, it just makes you like want that more. I don't know if it's like the rebel inside me, but when people say that, I'm like, oh, I want that. But I really don't. And so I just like told the people in my office space, I said, just eat what you normally eat. Like, don't be afraid of it. I got a Valentine's Day present from one of my really good friends at work, and it was super cute. She gave everybody like a Reese's or a Kit Kat, but for me, she gave me like a little packet of tuna, and so I feel like I have excellent support at work, but I don't think that people really need to be afraid to eat in front of me. Another thing is I hear constantly that they knew somebody that had this procedure and that they got fat afterwards. And I would be lying to say that's not a big concern to me. I'm nervous about that. I'm trying to change my ways. I'm trying to cope with all the issues I'm having in the best, healthiest way I can. And hearing that, you know, sometimes makes me a little bit nervous. And I was guilty of it too. I was talking to one of my patients who originally had the gastric band, and then she's now had the gastric bypass. Well, when she had the gastric band, it was kind of new and it was very popular to get. And it was one of the ones that they really suggested it. And nowadays, I don't find that to be the case. I rarely have a person go to a bariatric surgeon and they say, you should get the band. The band would be great for you. Instead, I think that, and she told me, one of the things I told her is that I have seen people get the band and gain weight afterwards. So I was a complete hypocrite in this. But I can tell you, you know, as a person that's gone through it, I want support to like, you know, say, you know, to like not gain weight back instead of people already making me feel a little bit like a failure. I work with a dietitian, and I've had a meeting at 1 week, 3 weeks, and I'll have another one on Monday at 6 weeks. And they tell me what they expect in my diet. And I trust them more than I'm going to trust somebody who's been skinny all their life and feels like they can tell me what's right and what's wrong. And I'm not saying that anything against the way they eat or anything like that. I just feel that they're in a different situation than I am. I wouldn't impose the diet that I'm doing on them because it would more than likely cause some type of starvation when you're only eating 500 calories, just as I would hope that they don't impose their diet on me. Sometimes I do get helpful tips, but a lot of times I get a lot of shade from them, and it's kind of said like in a snarky way, like, I know I had some patient in the other day, she's like, well, maybe now you'll learn how to eat. And I was like, well, I knew how to eat before. That's what got me to where I was. But anyways, that was just another one that really kind of irks me. And I think, again, I'm 1.5 months out. It's like I'm 1.5 months out. And every day I'm learning something. Every day I'm taking in new suggestions and figuring stuff out. I'm constantly researching on Pinterest or, you know, different vlogs from people that have gone through it. So you kind of have to realize that we each have our own body and we each have our own way of dealing with things. And that's why you really have to focus on what works for your body. Listening to suggestions is okay. Throwing shade is not okay. I have to, for some reason in my brain, if I were to be like, you can never eat another French fry for the rest of your life, I would want that French fry. I would be like, I want that. So what I tell myself is you can eat anything you want. This came from a patient who had a gastric bypass. He says, you can have anything you want. He goes, if any food out there, he goes, has not been an issue for my stomach. But your wants will change. So he goes, I used to want a burger. Burgers were, he goes, I would love burgers, and burgers were one of his favorite types of food. And now he never wants to eat a burger. And a lot of the foods that were really unhealthy and stuff, he goes, your taste just change and you don't want it. But he goes, if you tell yourself that you can never have a French fry for the rest of your life, you're going to want that more. You're going to crave that. And then it's going to become a mental thing and not what you actually want in your stomach. And so he says, he just goes by and he tells himself, if I want to have it, I can just have it. But I'm going to push my protein first. And then he goes, typically, by the time you get your protein in, you don't even want anything else. And so that's what I've been kind of telling myself, is that if I truly wanted to have something in the future, I truly could. But no matter what, I'm not going to eat what I used to eat of it. And if I have just a little bit, I'll be fine. But so far, with all this being said, I haven't wanted any of those things. I used to be a big burger person myself, and I am not. I know next week I'm going to be told that I can have, there's no real limitations on foods. Obviously, they have you following a very strict high protein diet, low carb, but I don't even want a burger. And I mean, I couldn't even tell you like foods that I had before that I truly want. And so I find that has helped my mental ability as terms of feeling that I can have whatever I want, but it is my choice now. Do I truly want those things? Right now, at this very moment, I don't want any of those foods that helped contribute to making me fat. I don't want chips at all. I don't want any of those foods. But I am still amazed every time we go somewhere and I eat what I ordered on my plate, and I think, God, back in the day, I used to just go to town on this. Like, there'd be nothing left on my plate. And every time I see that, I get a little bit, first of all, I'm always shocked by it. And then I feel good. Like, I'm starting to get this. I feel that I'm 1.5 months out, and every day I'm learning something about my new stomach. Every day I'm working on it. Every day I feel like I'm getting better. And so I'm just interested to see how time goes along. I've had patients tell me that after 6 months, you really start to learn your stomach and who you are as a new person, and you go through life living a different way. And when I look at those plates that I eat nowadays, I think of, well, now it makes sense why I gained weight so fast. And I just couldn't imagine going back to that lifestyle at this very moment. And I just am really, really excited that I finally took the risk, did this procedure, and I feel every day I'm getting exponentially better. I know that I'm going to have some times where I second guess myself. I definitely, that morning of surgery, I thought, are you really going to do this? This is your last chance. You could walk away right now and you could still keep your stomach, but if I would have done that, I would have kept that lifestyle. And sometimes you have to take a risk, and you have to trust your gut, and you have to go for it. And that's what I did. And I have to say, to this day, I am very happy with what I have decided. I am happy with the changes I've made to my body. I am excited to continue them, to learn more, to try new things, and just to go through life with a different outlook and different coping mechanisms for the things that would make me weak in the past to food. So I hope you enjoyed today's vlog. It was kind of rants at times, but I hope that if you're going through this process, you don't feel alone when you are going through those mental struggles. I hope that you feel like there's support out there. Feel free to, contact me through the Instagram, Instant Messenger, or whatever, because I can assure you, we all go through the same struggles, but at the end of the day, when you step on that scale and you just watch the numbers continually go down and you start to notice that your clothes that didn't fit so well before are starting to feel a little bit better, those are the rewards you're looking for. And I think, so week 6, they said I gotta go to any type of food. There's not any really big restrictions. This is how I'm gonna live my life for the rest of my days. And then I also can start exercising. So I'm excited to get started on those things. And I know that I could do walks before, but poor Guinness. Guinness is excited to go back on his walks every morning. I haven't been walking him in the morning because the truth of the matter is when you have a dog like Guinness here, he walks you, you don't walk him. So next week I'm going to go through more of what I have, some of the ideas that I've come to with the new diet change, and then also kind of give you an update on how it is to start exercising again, which I am so excited to do. It's kind of crazy because right after you have the surgery, you're like, I'm so tired and I can't move, but I want to start working out because I want to start this process. But I feel like this next week I'm really gonna learn how it is that I feel like next week is how the rest of my life is gonna feel, and I'm excited for it. So I'll see you next week. Again, if you're new, feel free to subscribe to this channel. I'm just being real about the situation I'm going through and some of the things that I've learned along the way. Thank you.